Oh, hey everyone, welcome back to PRN Test Drive. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. As you can see, I'm hard at work in this luxurious workspace trying to learn everything I can about this work truck. And whilst doing that, I stumbled upon something quite interesting. This is probably the cheapest torque per dollar vehicle you can buy. And I might actually be right because the base model Honda Civic costs double per pound-feet of torque compared to this one. Now by now, you can probably guess what I'm sitting in, so let's get this episode started. Setting you back a little over 120,000 Canadian dollars, this is the 2023 Ford F-250 Super Duty Crew Cab Long Bed Limited with the PowerStroke 6.7 liter diesel engine. Now, the reason why I have a 2023 is that for 2024, it's a carryover model year and you won't be able to get this beautiful Azure Grey color. Now, I'm not nearly as knowledgeable as Niall when it comes to trucks. So today, I'm gonna be giving you guys a non-truck guy's truck review. Starting off with my first impressions. Probably similar to most other people, the sheer monstrous size of this F-250 is frankly a little bit scary. I mean, I literally can barely see over the hood. This thing is too tall for my garage, too long for one parking spot. It is definitely the most ridiculous thing I've ever driven so far, but I kind of like it. Up front, you have a huge Ford logo as well as huge Super Duty badging, and then you get LED headlights, LED fog lights, and along with that, an air curtain that helps with aerodynamic just a tiny bit for this behemoth of a truck. Under the hood is the biggest, baddest engine Ford produces for the Super Duty trucks. The 6.7 liter PowerStroke V8 turbodiesel engine capable of producing 500 horsepower and 1,200 pound-feet of torque. That's almost the same torque figure that two Hellcat engine produces. The power is then routed through a 10-speed automatic transmission to a 4x4 transfer case. This vehicle also features a rear differential lock. Off to the side, this F-250 is extra long because not only is it a crew cab, it also has the 8-foot bed, which makes this the longest possible configuration for the F-250. Now, why the long bed, you ask? Because to me, the proportions look, especially this area, looks really off. Now, apart from the apparent that you can put more things in the bed, obviously, you actually also get a much larger fuel tank, 181 liters to be exact, which is 53 liters more than what you get in a regular crew cab configuration. Now what that means is that theoretically, if you drive 12 liters per 100 kilometers on the highway, which by the way is very, very achievable, you can actually drive 1,500 kilometers per tank. Take that, electric cars. Bet you can't do that. In terms of payload and towing, the long bed crew cab is rated for 3,600 pounds in terms of payload and 22,000 pounds for towing. And to top it all off, you get a motorized liftgate, which is great. Now let's jump into the interior because that's the reason why you pay for this trip. Jumping into the second row, I'm actually quite a fan of the blue and gray interior. Plus, it has diamond stitching and a limited badge, along with a suede headliner, which really makes this feel luxurious. Now, in terms of amenities, you get a huge panoramic sunroof, heated seats, power plugs, along with your usual storage bins under the seats. Jumping into the front, you got this big old handle to help you get in. And in here, plenty of space, obviously. Not only are the seats massaging, which work quite well, these seats also have a lot of adjustability, including a pedal box that moves forwards and backwards. So if you're short, no problem. Drive this Super Duty big truck. The armrest is huge. The center console is huge. Glove box, you got two, both huge. Lots of cup holders, lots of storage underneath, on the side, everywhere. Buttons also everywhere. You've got trailer controls, drive control, every knobs, everything you ever want. It also has an 110 outlet as well. To be honest with you, for a truck novice like me, I find all of this a little bit overwhelming. In terms of infotainment, you get a huge center screen, which is nice, and it runs the Sync 4 system. The operating system of the Sync 4 is good. However, again, just like most other Fords nowadays, have a very slow processor. So experience is iffy. And then you have a B&O sound system, which sounds pretty good, so not much complaints there. In front of me, you get a fully digital instrument cluster as well as a fairly large head-up display. Both of these have wide range of customization, which you can change based on drive modes, so on and so forth. It also has a lot of information for you, which is great. You also get memory seat, heated seats, heated steering wheel, and cooled seats included with this vehicle. Okay, enough talking, let's go for a drive. As a person without much truck experience, getting into a vehicle like this is a huge contrast compared to my daily driver Honda Civic. Now, apart from the obvious that this thing is extremely large and extremely long, I actually find that the height to be a bit of the harder areas to adjust to. Because of the sheer height of this monster, my blind spot now has extended to everything that is also adjacent to me directly. I feel like there's always a car right there that I don't see and I feel like I might miss. Now, Ford has implemented this lowered front window section, which really helps with the blind spots, but I still feel that I still worry constantly that what is in front of my car, what is next to my car, so on and so forth. The side mirror is another thing that I find a little bit hard to adjust. Now, obviously this thing is huge for good reasons, but it also blocks a lot of the visibility that I see out that direction. And it makes me feel, again, a little bit insecure where I am and whether if there's something that I'm missing at that blind spot. The top mirror, which is the normal mirrors, for some reason I find that it is very zoomed in. It feels like everything I can see is very, very far, and perhaps that's a reason because the lower mirror is the concaved super wide mirrors, which those mirrors work really well because I can see everything. I just wish that it's a little bit bigger in terms of the height. There are also a plethora of cameras and other smart features like the onboard scale that helps you with towing and your other work trucks and shenanigans, which is super nice. On to my driving impressions. I think I can sum it up in one sentence. I'm driving a Maybach decorated school bus with a 10-stage rocket booster strapped to the back. This thing is seriously fast when in boost. Every single gear I lunge forward and all of a sudden you're going over the speed limit. The amount of torque this vehicle has is absolutely crazy. 1,200 pound-feet of torque. When I'm in too high, which means it's rear-wheel drive, I spin up the wheels even at speed. Like, I'm going 45 right now. I step on it. Oh, it like cut power a little bit. I mean, these 1,200 pound-feet of torque is just ridiculous for when you're driving this truck empty. And I still think it's overkill for when you're towing, which is absolutely crazy. In terms of fuel economy, I'm actually very, very impressed. On the highway without towing, I'm able to get 10 liters per 100 kilometers. 10 liters per 100 kilometers, which, to put into perspective, is almost as good as the Toyota Grand Highlander Hybrid Max that Niall has tested a couple of weeks ago. That's just amazing. With that said, there's a caveat to that. Driving the city, it's a whole different story. In my experience driving this truck in the city, I average around 17 to 18 liters per 100 kilometers. And if you're super conservative with it, you can probably get it to 15. But it's definitely not as good as the 10 on the highway. Now, all things considered, this is still a really good number considering the size of this truck. So I don't really have any complaints in terms of fuel consumption, even though yes, diesel is a bit more expensive here in Ontario. I would assume that if you had a 7.3 gasoline version, you'd probably be doing over 20 in the city, and at least 15, 16, or 17 on the highway. You can let me know what you get in terms of fuel economy in your truck down in the comments below. Speaking of fuel economy, the gauge in the instrument cluster actually only shows 0, 4, and 8 liters per 100 kilometers. So the bar only goes up to 8 liters per 100 kilometers, which doesn't make any sense at all. Ford, what do you think this car is? A Prius? Come on, 8 liters is the maximum that the bar goes to? Come on. That's just funny. The steering in this thing is super light, but the ratio is slow. Sometimes I find that it doesn't recenter quick enough after a turn, so I would have to manually recenter it. The suspension is stiff as expected, so the ride quality is not great. But I will say that the turn-ins and the body roll actually feel better than expected, probably because of how stiff this truck suspension is. Overall, this big truck comes with a big price tag, but if you want the best of the best, Ford definitely delivers here. Driving this thing around the city, I always have to keep in mind how big, how long this vehicle is, how tall it is, and I really have to think twice in terms of where to park it. But if I lived in Texas or countryside, have a ranch in Texas, something like that, I do definitely see the appeal. What do you think about big trucks like this? Would you get something like this, or would you want something even bigger like a dually? Let me know down in the comments below, and thank you for watching. This is my first time testing out a big Super Duty truck like this. Let me know how I did, and let me know if you want me to review more trucks. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.